not right there, but we'll see. Okay, now let's move on to, ooh. Okay, so I call this the messy money marriage. Okay, so this is between Erin and her husband, Abe. So let me go back big and I'll read it. So this was back, I believe, in like April, I want to say, where her husband and Erin, they were sued for $44,000 in unpaid rent. And they say that they weren't paying rent because of a rat infestation in their, I believe they lived in Tribeca. And then recently, Abe posted, "Love and marriage are not linear things. Healthy relationships have up and downs. That's actually, quote, reality. Besides, being in a flat and linear relationship would be a boring life. We're all of we we're all of us are flawed." Okay, dude. Find someone you can be yourself with, and you found treasure. At Erin Lichy, thank you for accepting me as human. Boy, bye. Miss me with this. Because don't forget, it's come out that Erin said that he had secretly sold their crypto money and didn't tell her. And he sold like years ago when it was worth way less than what it's worth, the type of crypto they bought worth now. Now, this is the thing. I have questions on this. And I when I get some time, I might do a deeper dive. But let me know what you guys think about this. The math isn't mathing with what is going on. So we know that they were sued for the $44,000 in unpaid rent, saying, well, we didn't pay it because it wasn't good living conditions with the rat infestation, whatever the case may be. They were renting like 2 levels in the apartment building, and it was like 13.5K rent a month. Okay. We know that they moved. They moved to a smaller place and they're saying it's to be closer to the kids' school. Sure, could be. Or it could be you got kicked out because you didn't pay $44,000 in unpaid rent. Okay. So there is that whole little bucket. Whether or not, this is my question. I have a couple of questions. I wonder if Erin knew they weren't paying rent, or if he kept that from her and she thought that they were current in their rent. Okay, put a little pin in that. Then she talks about how back in the day they had some sort of handbag collection line, which they ended up being in debt over. It was really his line for her or something like that. She thought that they had cleared that debt, but they hadn't. They were still in debt for that. I don't know when that debt got cleared, but there was a period of time where she believed they were out of debt, but they weren't out of debt. So clearly, and then Abe has said how when he's under pressure, he can make mistakes. He's hiding financial things from Erin. All of these are big red flags. All of this is if I was Erin, I personally, I'm not telling Erin what to do. She has kids. She's a grown woman. I personally would divorce him because it's very scary and very dangerous. I listen to a lot of true crime. It is very, very dangerous when your husband is lying to you about these huge financial things. White collar crimes or white collar lies or whatever you want to call it, schemes and scams, quickly will end you up in jail, on some type of Ponzi scheme, some type of tax evasion. I'm looking at you, Teresa Giudice, whatever the case may be that you were wrapped into because your husband doesn't know how to handle the finances or whatever the case may be. Or unfortunately, what happened over the summer, I forget his name, but it was the guy, and the girl and his wife was like a big influencer, and he was like some finance guy, and he had gotten them in like all of this debt trying to keep up with the Joneses. And he ended up unaliving himself and leaving the letter being like, "I'm so sorry, but like use my insurance money to pay off all of these debts." That happened way more than you would believe. So Abe has this pattern of using their money, spending their money, having them in debt, and then keeping Erin in the dark about it, to me is a huge, huge red flag. So then she says she wanted to go get the crypto out because the crypto was worth way more now than it was when he sold it. This is exactly what she said. SW says no. I think she said it's worth no. She said it's worth more now. I'm 100% positive on this. She said it was worth more now, and she was saving it because she wanted to, she said, pay off a chunk of their mortgage. That's what she said. And that's why she was so pissed, because he had sold it years before when it was worth way less without telling her. And that's why she said this is such a betrayal. And she was really mad because she was saving that money up. At least she thought she was. My question is this. More questions. She said a chunk of the mortgage. A mortgage on what? Did she mean the Hamptons house? Do they have a mortgage on that house? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they just got sued for unpaid rent. So if you're being sued for not paying your rent, that means you don't own. If you don't own, you don't have a mortgage. So when she said she wanted to use that money to pay up a chunk of a mortgage, what mortgage was she referring to? The mortgage on the Hamptons house? Is that what she's talking about? I don't know. Let's pretend that's not true. Let's pretend it's not the Hamptons house, because I don't know. My gut is saying it's not the Hamptons house. I don't know. Maybe the Hamptons house. It could be. But what I think really happened was this. And I could be wrong, because again, this is just my opinion. This is my candy cane hat on. This is what I think happened. I think they got $44,000 in debt with their unpaid rent. Maybe there were rats in the infestation. That's why they weren't paying. Maybe that 100% could be true. Who knows? But let's just say it's not. Let's just say he, as an Abe, something happened with their finances. He was unable to pay rent. He got backed up in a hole of $44,000. Didn't tell Erin. Erin thought everything was being taken care of the way she thought everything was taken care of. The way she thought their handbag business debt had already been cleared when it wasn't. They were still in debt. The way she thought they had the crypto that was still there and it wasn't. He had already sold it. Whether he sold it for more or less, it doesn't matter. The fact is, he sold it without telling her. So she thinks she has this money and it's gone. I think he got them into $44K debt in this unpaid rent. I think Erin said, okay, we need to figure out a way to pay this debt. She was like, well, let's just go and use our crypto. And that's when she discovered that the crypto was gone. And then they had to move. Unless she's talking about using that chunk of money to pay off their mortgage in the Hamptons. But for some reason, I just don't think that's true. I feel like their Hamptons home was like given to them, or I don't know. It just seemed, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe they meant the Hamptons house. But I think the most logical thing is that he got them in debt, the $44K for the rent, unbeknownst to her. She finds out he hasn't been paying it. She goes to get the crypto to bail them out and realizes the crypto isn't there. And then boom, they are being sued, and then they have to move and downsize. Exactly, Jacob. The Hamptons house was in Erin's family. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I feel like that isn't true. So thank you, Jacob. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think to me, that makes the most logical sense. Because when she said to pay off the mortgage, because you could tell she was lying. When she was like, I needed the crypto he knew I was saving it for something, and I was like, oh, we could pay off a big chunk of our mortgage. And I was like, oh, okay, they must own in the city. And then when I found out they were being sued for $44K in unpaid rent, I was like, well, wait a minute. Renters don't have mortgages. So what was that for? And I think that's why she, very rightly so, and I'm telling you, I would divorce him. I would. Clearly, they're not having sex. Maybe they are now, but when they're filming, they're clearly not. I don't even think he's sleeping in the same room as her. Because she was very seething, and she was so brazen about her attraction to the tennis guy, Which, side note, he was hot and he could 100% get it, not mad about it. He was hot. However, I'm not a married woman on television. So the way that Erin was with him last season versus the way she's with him now, that all of these, financial discrepancies has not just come to light, but they've come to light publicly. They're in page 6 being sued for 44K. That's pretty embarrassing. It's not something they can just, sweep under the rug themselves, but now we're all talking about their financial problems. That's embarrassing. Not that anybody should ever be ashamed. Let me do a quick disclaimer. My candy canes know, but in case you're a candy cane for the first time, when we talk about, money, having it, not having it, things like that, I personally do not mean that anybody should ever feel ashamed or embarrassed for not having enough money. I think that's sick and weird and evil and twisted. So when we talk about stuff like this, about being 44K in debt, it's more just to give context to the narrative and understanding of what's going on. It's never to shame anybody, because you never know. Rainy days, rain falls on all of us at some point in life. So never feel ashamed or embarrassed if something happens. But also, don't be stupid. If your husband or your wife is repeatedly lying to you about your financial situation to your detriment, get out of the situation. It's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. It's like somebody who has an addiction or abuse, and he clearly has a pattern of this. So if I was Erin, I would be out. I would be out. I would be out. You're not, no, because what else is really going on? Do you know what I mean? I would be out, but that's just me. I can't tell her what to do. She's a grown woman. She has her kids. Who knows? Um, but if I were her, I would not trust him with the money. If I were her, I would open up my own accounts in my own name, not joint accounts. I would pull it an Ashley Darby. Well, no, let me take that back. I would pull what Ashley Darby tried to do, but didn't actually do correctly. I would get a new post-nup. This is if I were to stay with him. I personally would not stay with him. But if I were to, I would completely separate our finances, and I would have 1000% transparency on every single thing, and I would never trust him again to do anything. I don't care. And if that messes up his manhood, too bad. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? All right. There's that. I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. I think that was it on them. All right, let's see.